exchange for the space, any available space for rent at Camarillo, including the chamber's offices. And again, it's because it's not rented that if anybody wanted to come over and rent that space, the chamber would vacate. It's something that we vetted through county council as well, and even the auditor's office from the county. So.
Is there insurance covering the county if something were to transpire there?
Yes, we have insurance on file.
Thank you very much.
And we also have a deposit, as I remember.
It's an in-kind,
And the chamber is completely at will. The second someone wants to plop on down
Absolutely.
there, they scoot on out. They got no
That's right.
no right effectively to it for any period of time.
And it's not the chamber's office per se anyway.
No,
It's
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 not.
a service, as you said,
Yeah.
to try to promote small business development.
There's a lot of entrepreneurs who are just looking for some space. They just need a desk or two or whatnot to,
And wouldn't it be great if one of those decided that, you know what, I need to expand, I'm going to lease this spot?
It would be, yeah,
It'd be really nice.
yeah. That'd be awesome.
Okay, number 8 is reports. Any specific?
If
Oh,
you don't
go
mind,
ahead.
Chairman, let me just add to that. If a entity, as I understand it, does come in and decides they want to try to use it, they pay a partial rent while they're there. So, yeah, that is in addition to that, so. That's a good point. Sorry, go ahead, Chairman.
On reports, anything that you want to mention or specifically point out?
No, sir, I don't have anything specifically other than what you have in your packets.
Okay, number 9 is correspondence. Anybody on the authority have any questions on the correspondence listed? Okay, hearing none.
If only
Yeah.
we can get follow-up for the public comment items that were discussed.
For tonight?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
On miscellaneous, other than, I will say that as far as the air show goes, I want to compliment the amount of cooperation that I saw within the city and the county. I don't know if I'm sure that most people don't realize how much of the county gets involved in the air show, but I had the Bush crew out practicing backburns, getting ready for the pyro. I had the folks at Station 50 working with the Department of Airports to put together the emergency action plan, emergency response plans, and these were things that the FAA put on it this year that they had not had on. So we all found out that our 2-page document turned into 50 and 60, but it was, I think, one of the better cooperative efforts. The engineering folks that are at the west end of the runway that have all the heavy equipment and do the training, they linked up with the chief, Ventura County chief for the Bush crew, because he didn't have their contact numbers, and so they traded business cards and said, hey, I need this, and so it really was a great example of the team working together as Ventura County and City Camarillo, so I really appreciate it.
I just want to say thank you. That was a fabulous show. Staff, great job. Ventura County staff, everybody. Really impressive. How many cars? So many more cars than the year before.
On Saturday, they said, well, it's going to be about 100 cars. Well, it was like 180 cars. I mean, it was more cars than we wanted. But
Yeah.
but it showed the enthusiasm that we were getting.
And I want to say thank you because there are lines of people out. Like people were texting people, "Do you check out the line? There's so many people coming. You got to go see it." And then the traffic on the 101 because of the explosions were fabulous. Everyone stopped. Where are we? We're in Camarillo. It's great advertisement. 165 pets were adopted with the shelter.
169.
169. Awesome. Amazing partnership. So I just want to say thank you. It was just a huge draw to the airport, to the city of Camarillo, to all of Ventura County, and it was very well done. And I just want to say thank you.
So one of the things that you may not have even recognized, but because that weekend happened like 2 weekends after several of the big weekend shootings in other parts of the country, we ended up really upping the security aspects, including we had 4 armed deputies that were at the show. We increased the Dow security from 5 to 10, and these were not easy things to do that quickly. So I'm impressed with, again, the city of Camarillo, aka Ventura County Sheriff, part of it stepped up. So it was a very much a joint effort.
I want to think it was a great success, and I just want to share that with you. But like anything else, because of the explosions, noise. I just want to commend Rubio we had a couple of concerns because of the explosions and because it was for whatever reason, I'm not sure, the echo went all the way to Oxnard.
That's a function of the terrain, Supervisor. The focus goes right back to him. Yep.
I'm not throwing any water. I think this is really, it was great. But that, concern was there, and the reason I'm saying it, because I want to thank your staff over when it was happening. I want to thank Rubio and you for actually calling our people there in Oxnard, and I'm sure that our council members and our mayor probably had the same concerns, but we did have, people call up regarding what in the world's happening in Camarillo, what's all this explosion coming from? But anyway, it was great. The reason I bring it up is I want to commend staff for the work that they did.
The city of Camarillo gave my phone number and name to their noise complaints, and one of the things, my spiel to them was, all right, I had a list of 10 or 12 different ways we try to communicate to the populations of the Oxnard Plain and Camarillo.
And because of the shooting, that was really,
Yeah.
important to the people that
So,
what was happening.
What I did was try to get them on board and have them tell me what thing could I have done that I could have informed you about this. And so they were thinking about it. They haven't gotten back to me yet, but
it was a great program, absolutely.
So thanks. Is there any other, okay.
Councilman from Oxnard, tremendous event. We did have some people complain, and when you made contact with them, you realized they didn't read the paper, they didn't listen to the radio. They, you would have had to take them by the hand because they didn't know. But I want to thank Supervisor Long. I did not know about the dog adoptions. That's a big deal. And we have on our budget, on our next council meeting, our new addition that we have to pay for the pound. That's a big deal. Thank you very much, thank you.
We right before we agreed to do any pyro, I went to the animal shelter and talked to their staff and gave them a brief on what we were trying to do, where we were trying to do it, the difference between fireworks in the air and ground detonations, and that was before the director got there. So Donna was the acting director, and she said, well, when you walked in, I was going to throw your little tail out of here. Not quite those words, but by the time I finished, she says, how can we co-market this? And so Brian, Randy, I'm sorry, who's the head of their marketing, we put together a package including marketing. We marketed the Clear the Shelter Day, which was Saturday.
It included earplugs for the
and we gave them as many heads up as we could on when the explosions were going to happen so they could turn the music up. That's how they did. They turned the music up. And so it turned out very well. In fact, Randy said, I don't want to do any more marketing. We had so many people there that we didn't have the people to be able to handle them. So they were doing lotteries for who could go in and pick animals. So it was...
That was great.
It's fabulous.
Okay. Anyway, that's enough for my air shows. Any authority comments?
Yes. Mr. Chair, I want to say to my fellow members here of this authority that in the next few months, before the end of the year, a draft environmental impact report on a proposed development right next door to the Oxnard Airport will be released. And this is called the Teal Club Specific Plan. And at no other time that I have served on this commission, this authority, do I feel more concern about development in and around Oxnard Airport. Ironically enough, the director just gave us an update on a new master plan and the possibility of a renewed commercial service at Oxnard Airport. And I think that right now, and just to update, because we have new members of this authority, is that the draft environmental impact report is for close to 1,000 homes right next door to the airport. That's number one, and also 60,000 square feet of commercial space. But what's most concerning is that the Oxnard Elementary School District in a neighboring parcel, part of this whole specific plan, has already purchased land to put 1,900 students right next door to the airport, right next door to the runway. And my concern right now is that the city has had differences with the county at Channel Islands Harbor, and that there's a perception within the city that somehow this is more of the county exerting its influence over the city when it comes to Teal Club Road. And I'm very concerned at this point, and of course I have my colleague Councilman Perello here. I'm very concerned at this point that the City Council does not truly understand the impacts that putting or placing 1,900 students next door to a runway is. I think it's, and I've never used this word here at the Commission, I'm usually very restrained. I think it's insane. I think it's preposterous that a school district would even consider doing that. And they, unfortunately, I've moved forward with purchasing the land. Just to conclude, what's going to be very important from my perspective, because I don't think that the school district is going to be persuaded not to place 1,900 students in a district office next door to the airport, is the proposed Teal Club Road development. The only way that I see that the 1,900 students will not be located there is if the City Council, and I'm not expressing for or against the project, but if the City Council were not to approve the 1,000 homes, that would make it very difficult for LAFCO to annex this land into the city, because it would in essence be an island, and LAFCO does not annex territory unless it's contiguous to the city limits. So I'm asking on a few fronts. I'm asking for support from this commission to be able to send a strong message to the city that this is not the county that is attempting to oppose Oxnard's right to develop within the city, but rather it is already an expressed desire of a unanimous decision of this previous authority to oppose not only the development but also the school being located right next door to the airport. So my request is that we revisit this issue again, because when the school district originally proposed a school, I think it was for 600 students, and now it's been increased to 1,900 students. And I think this authority needs to revisit this, and we need to time it with the draft environmental impact report that will be released just before the end of the year. So I just wanted to express that to my distinguished colleagues, and at no other time have I been more concerned about the city more or less looking at the airport as a burden and not as an asset. I believe it's an asset, and I believe certainly if we can restore commercial service, it can be shown even more from an economic development perspective. The Tourism and Convention Bureau obviously would support commercial service being restored there. I think at no other time is it more important that we somehow figure out how we're going to, it's kind of ironic, right? I'm the mayor of a government right now where these are the expressed sentiments of members of the City Council, that it's the county trying to tell the city what to do about where we can develop and where we can't. And it's unfortunate that we haven't been able to see eye to eye about Channel Islands Harbor, but never would I want to see that spill over into other areas. So just want to express that to my colleagues.
Can you put it onto the agenda for the next meeting to
Have the need.
have the
Absolutely.
discussion about that. Thank you. I know John's on that.
Yeah, can I share something, understand what the mayor's saying? I know when Juan Soria came about, Juan Soria is right there on
Fifth Street.
Fifth Street, right next to, we opposed the Juan Soria. But however, because this school's under the state, and we were overruled by Caltrans, I think is what it was at the time. And even though we submitted a letter, and I think we should because 1,600 kids, it's a lot of kids right next to the airport. But we can probably write a letter and I support that because I think it'd be detrimental. But most likely, even if the city council approves or does not approve, most likely the state and Caltrans are probably going to override. But what you're saying, if they don't have the 1,600 homes, that probably is not feasible for them to.
For LAFCO to annex the
To
land,
annex it,
because it's
right.
not,
Contiguous.
yeah, right. It's not in the, it's not yet in the city limits.
But
Could I make a suggestion? Instead of just putting it on the agenda, could we have maybe a rack and stack of the things that have to be approved in order to be able to put a school next to an airport? There's got to be a whole series of approvals, starting from Caltrans, from FAA. Where are the places that we can put some pressure, some leverage, as far as putting a strategy together?
So the best way for, in my opinion, for us to approach this from this perspective and this body, or from a staff perspective, and then your bodies can choose if you want to go further than that. We can point out the concerns from the FAA, from the aeronautical side of the house, and then we can develop a plan based off of those concerns as to how we want to proceed forward. So what we'll do is we'll take a look, or I will. The staff may already be familiar with it. I'm not, but I'll take a look myself to get more familiar with this before the next meeting, and try to summarize in our next meeting any concerns that I see as the director of airports.
I think that there's also a land use body that has to be involved. That's not necessarily just airports, but it's the land use around airports.
Right.
BCTC.
I just,
Right.
and Mr. Chair, I appreciate you asking those questions, not to usurp at all the director's authority and the request to bring that to us, which I support, but in essence, when it really comes down to it, is that school districts, these decisions on these issues are left up to the state, and so the state, because of the need to place schools and build schools, the state overrides local authorities. In essence, that's what it is. And so, and that's why I've said that the LAFCO annexation is, from my perspective, the last piece of the puzzle, that what this is contingent upon more than anything else, actually, it's in the hands more of the Oxnard City Council, and whether or not they approve this development. And again, as a previous authority already voted on this 10-0 or whatever the vote was to oppose it. So I'm on the record and I wear two hats. So I'm supposed to be a trustee, be open-minded about the development until the very end, but I mean, when one truly understands that the annexation issue is perhaps the only leverage left about excluding the school, the 1,900 students being placed right next to the airport and very close to the runway.
If I remember correctly, too, when we opposed Juan Soria, we then wrote in our letter that we were excluded some liability, and that the school district then took the liability in case there was a disaster happen there, which I think is extremely important because it could happen, unfortunately. And one of the things that happened too, Kip, the Condor, that's a path of the Condor coming into the airport was right over the school.
Can I, our
The Brown Act.
comments? I love this discussion, and we need to have it for the next meeting
Well,
when it's on the
we just give them
agenda.
direction.
But you provide really great points.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
So
I'd like to provide one more. Find out what it was, if I can.
Just quickly.
Find out what exactly it was, the grounds that when the Oxnard School District went to the state of California and got legislators that stated that they got it overridden.
I'm sorry, repeat that. I did.
Oxnard Elementary School Board took staff to Sacramento. At a legislative hearing, they got the rules overrode, and that's how the school was built. Find out how they did it, so you have a plan.
Or proposed to be built. It hasn't been built.
ACTC has a lot to do with it, too.
Did you understand that? I want to make sure we understand that final request. Pardon? Yeah, okay, yeah, let me do that.
Is there any other comments? I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's okay.
No, that's a good point.
You're keeping us straight.
That agenda.
If I hear no other authority comments, then I move to adjourn.
I have authority comment, not on this
Oh.
matter, not on that matter.
Thank you.
Kip, I'm very impressed with the way you gave a director's report. I mean, you made a comment that that's how you did it before, and, you know, if we wanted you to stop, I, for one, don't want you to stop. I learned more today than I have in the past. And it's no disparaging to anybody in the past, but I appreciate the information you gave us. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I beg your pardon, just one quickie. It just, something that just occurred to me, and I apologize for, it's already late. This school and all the children and the massive land acquisition, everything, my heart goes out to Tim for having the huevos to bring that up to us. He's in a difficult position, but this information is so valuable at an early stage, is the point I want to make. I've seen it for, you've heard me, come and go all over around the school here. And sometimes the school district has changed his mind, or developers backed out of developments, but there's been time and time and time again. I even went to a meeting about 25 years ago down to the school board's office with the mayor and.
We were, when Soria, we were together.
What, were you there that
Yeah.
night? Oh, well, I still have my effigy that they burnt outside, but anyway, that's another story. We got in there, and first of all, they wouldn't make room in the auditorium for us, so we're standing out there. I swear to God, and then we couldn't get in, and so finally we said, well, we just have a couple of things to say, and correct me if I'm wrong here somewhere, and they go, well, we're not sure we're going to have time for you or not.
It was,
Yeah, I mean, it was they almost gave us the
finger.
Yeah, and so ultimately we did
it would be under.
That's an Oxnard trip. But anyway, we didn't get to make our point, and then when it all came around, and we applied it several times after that, and every meeting you can imagine, everybody was campaigning. It came up for a vote, and everybody said 5-0, 10-0, whatever.
And that was it.
Shove it, and that's
But
the way
the
it's been. That's if you let it go to that one final point, which
Yeah.
seems to be LAFCO. And if we don't fight now, believe me, you'll have it right next to the runway. Happens every time. Please. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, thank you. I think we're adjourned. Thank you.